Hare Krishna. Thank you, Pawan Prabhuji, for facilitating the chanting. The devotees will start with prayers. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminati Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Welcome everybody. Okay, we'll continue with Lal Samai Prarthana by Srila Narottam Das Thakur, our prayer of this week. Anybody else would like to try today? Singing? Okay, I'll continue then. And there are different ways we can sing this, I think. Like we've been singing, and yesterday Meenakshi Mani sang in the Vrindavana Ramya Sthanam tune. Like that we can sing. So today we'll try to sing in a different melody, faster melody. Okay. गौरंगा बोलीते हबे पुलक शरीरा हरि हरि बोलीते नयने भावे नीरा गौरंगा बोलीते हबे पुलक शरीरा हरि हरि बोलीते नयने भावे नीरा आर कबे निताई चंद्र करुणा होइबे संसार वासना मोरा कबे तुच्छ हइबे विषय छाड़िया कबे शुद्ध अभिमान कबे हम हेराबो श्री वृंदावन रूप रघुनाथ पदे होइबे आकुति कबे हम बुझाबो से जुगल पीति रूप रघुनाथ पदे रहु मोराश प्रार्थना करो ए सदा नरोत्तम दास रूप रघुनाथ पदे रहु मोराश प्रार्थना करो ए सदा नरोत्तम दास हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे लाल समय प्रार्थना की जय श्री नरोत्तम दास ठाकुर की जय जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय Okay, anybody would like to read the translation?
I can read.
Yes, please, go ahead, Mataji.
When will that opportune moment come to us when there will be shivering of the body as soon as we chant Lord Gauranga's name? While chanting Hare Krishna, when will there be tears in the eyes? When will I obtain the mercy of Lord Nityananda Chandra? When by his mercy will the desire for material enjoyment become very insignificant? When the mind is completely purified, being freed from material anxieties and desires, then I shall be able to understand Vrindavan and the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna, and then my spiritual life will be successful. When shall I be very much eager to study the books left by the six Goswamis, headed by Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunatha Dasa Goswami? By their instructions, I shall be able to properly understand the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna. My only aspiration is to attain the lotus feet of the six Goswamis, headed by Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Dasa Goswami. Narottam Dasa constantly prays to attain their lotus feet. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Okay, so when by His mercy will the desire for material enjoyment become very insignificant? So I'll continue. Yesterday, Meenakshi Muni was telling me, now I'm going to speak on a little bit on Wellness Festival. So anyway, I was correlating this with what happens in the material world. So since most of you know, I work for Kroger, and I was mentioning the other day, we have a very large uh, health and wellness festival that happens every year, and it is happening this Friday and Saturday. So it was yesterday and today. So we went yesterday, and we could see the whole sea of downtown Cincinnati there, because it is like a festival focused on health and well-being, basically. So your bodily health, um, and so many products being given away, samples free. So people are storming there, filling up their bags, and so much of waste. We could see, so many empty cans, litter, and boxes, right? And we were just thinking how much of waste everywhere for the sake of material advancement. Humanity, everybody wants for the taste of their tongue, or sense enjoyment, so much of sense gratification, um, and so much of wastage, like Srila Prabhupada was talking about yesterday. We should not waste anything. Everything is Krishna's energy. We should utilize everything in Krishna's service. But on the contrary, here, everything is going down the drain. People are just so maddened with all these freebies that they're piling up bags after bags. Even though they were mentioned no wagons and strollers, people are putting everything in their wagons. So, anyways, I was just reflecting how this desire for material enjoyment is so strong in this world. It's hard to get rid of that. Only by mercy of Lord Gauranga, Lord Nityananda, and our acharyas, when we follow their instructions, then we're able to slowly and gradually, with faith, when we practice, then slowly and gradually that day will come. With their mercy, we'll be able to overcome this desire for material enjoyment. Okay, let's continue chapter 42. Prabhupada, yesterday we saw how he had successfully won the Battle of Bombay. The land was acquired. The judge had passed the verdict. Whatever is built is already built. Nobody can destroy the temple. So Bombay was won, and now Prabhupada is in Mayapur, developing Mayapur. And again, we see how with humble beginnings, they're starting to build the first kind of residential quarters and place for Prabhupada to stay. And all the Western disciples are facing so much of challenges in living in a construction site, yet they are fully dedicated and surrendered to their spiritual father, to Srila Prabhupada, and so they are taking up all these austerities in their life to fulfill his mission, because he's saying in Mayapur it is a transcendental atmosphere and we can live just with air and water, nothing else is needed. So again, all those simple statements of Prabhupada, but so profound that it went and it pierced directly their hearts of his disciples. And he not even these Western disciples, we see even healthy Indian businessmen, right? Like we saw the example of Mohata, Mr. Mohata and his wife, who's the daughter of a multimillionaire, R.D. Birla, but they are attracted by the simplicity of Srila Prabhupada, just by simple plate of prasadam, living in a under construction room on a mattress. They felt so much joy and happiness in their heart. So that is what simplicity can do. Simplicity attracts the Lord. Simplicity and humility. So by Prabhupada's simple endeavors, he was capturing the hearts of even the most wealthiest of wealthiest people. Those, again, who have that seed of bhakti in their hearts are only attracted to this. Not everybody. Otherwise, we see there are, for one such wealthy person, there are thousands of multi-millionaires, billionaires, or even now going to be trillionaires. Elon Musk is thinking of becoming the first trillionaire right? So not everybody is attracted, but only those who have that beej of bhakti in their heart. By the mercy of the acharyas and mercy of the Lord, they can get attracted. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, so this paragraph we saw Prabhupada is correlating insects also. He's seeing Paramatma. That's the first class transcendentalist who can see Paramatma in everybody's heart. And he's saying how they are also they are the pilot and they are the flight themselves. Two in one. And he's giving this analogy. So let's continue from here. While a few devotees sat on the sheet-covered mattresses in his room, Prabhupada sat on a slightly raised asana, leaning back against a white bolster pillow. Both spiritual master and disciple enjoyed bliss in speaking and hearing Krishna consciousness. The devotees wanted to hear Prabhupada's words and follow his will, and he wanted to instruct them. But these insects, Prabhupada continued, are not perfect. They are flying to the light. That also means they are attracted to death. So they are just like the materialists. The materialists are building skyscrapers, yet they don't know what will happen at death. Henry Ford and other big capitalists had to die, but so many others are trying to become just like them. They do not know it means their death also. They are like these small insects. In the morning, we simply find heaps of them, all dead. Often, while Prabhupada was talking in his room, the lights would suddenly go out and devotees would bring in kerosene lamps. And each night, while Prabhupada was speaking, the pujari would come, filling the room with frankincense smoke. Ghee lamps faintly illuminated the large teakwood bas relief carving of Radha and Krishna on the wall opposite Prabhupada's desk. During this summer's visit, Prabhupada further revealed his vision for ISKCON's Mayapur development. The devotees were already aware that the plan was vast and would cost millions of dollars. They now had one building, but this was only the beginning. In the total plan, this building was almost insignificant. Prabhupada spoke about a colossal temple, its great dome rising above a transcendental city. This Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir would house the greatest planetarium in the world, depicting the universe as it is described in the Vedic literature. To execute such a project, Prabhupada wanted to train his disciples in Vedic arts, now dying in Bengal. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had been greatly interested in using dioramas to depict the Leela of Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, and now Prabhupada wanted his own disciples to learn the art by studying under local Mayapur artists. In June, Bharadraj, Adidev, Murthy, and Ishana arrived to begin learning the art of doll making. Prabhupada also wanted a disciple to learn to make mridangas, and a potter began coming every day to teach Ishana how to mold and fire the clay shells. The devotees converted Prabhupada's original straw cottage into a workshop, and Prabhupada began inviting other disciples to come to Mayapur. Mayapur is already wonderful, being the transcendental birthplace of Lord Krishna. By utilizing Western talents to develop this place, certainly it will become unique in the world. The Mayapur city, Prabhupada said, would be the fulfillment of the desires of the previous acharyas. The city would grow to a population of 50,000 and would become the spiritual capital of the world, with its gigantic temple in the center and separate quarters for Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. The city would be a model for all other cities. The day would come when the world cities would be ruined and humanity would take refuge in cities modeled after Mayapur. The development of Mayapur would mark the beginning of a Krishna conscious world. Thus, the influence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would increase, and his prediction would manifest. In every town and village, my name will be chanted. Prabhupada said that Mayapur should eventually become more easily accessible by bridge from Navadvip, by motor launch by the Ganges, a motor launch up the Ganges from Calcutta, and from all parts by air. In Bengal, millions were by birth followers of Lord Chaitanya, and they would recognize and take up Krishna consciousness as the pure form of their own culture. There is a saying, what Bengal does, the rest of India follows. So if Bengal became reformed and purified by the Krishna conscious example of American Vaishnavas, then all India would follow. And when all India became Krishna conscious, the whole world would follow. I have given you the kingdom of God, Prabhupada said to his Mayapur managers. Now take it, develop it, and enjoy it. Throughout the month of June, Prabhupada continued to live happily and peacefully in the not yet completed building of the Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir. Although he had been ill with a cough since Los Angeles, a cough he had been unable to cure while traveling in the West, on coming to Mayapur, his health had recovered. In Mayapur, I'm so much improved from how I was in Los Angeles. The great advantage here is that there is always open air and a good breeze, which is naturally very good for any breathing difficulties. Certainly, Mayapur is by far a better place than Los Angeles because you can enjoy the free air here. The climate is not too hot, but a little moist with humidity, but on the whole, it is very pleasing. Our building is most super excellently situated, and it is the existence of many respectable outsiders that while the outer atmosphere is unbearably hot, in our building it is pleasing. Prabhupada praised the constant pleasurable breezes that passed through the building. He called them Vaikuntha breezes. Sometimes, however, a violent storm would suddenly appear. Although severe, these storms were also beautiful, and continuous lightning like neon lights filling the sky. One day a storm arose and the winds began to howl through the building. Noticing that Prabhupada's doors and windows were open, Shatadhanya rushed into the room and began frantically closing them. But Prabhupada, seated at his desk, said, "Stop! Leave all the windows open." "Prabhupada," Shatadhanya protested, "the storm is here." "Just leave them open," Prabhupada said, as the wind rushed through his room at more than 50 miles an hour. Prabhupada smiled. "There is no place in the world like this," he said, his saffron robes billowing. Prabhupada stood on the roof of his Mayapur building, looking over to the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu less than a mile away. "Actually," he said to Bhavananda Maharaj, "their claim to the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not very important. Is Krishna famous for having been born in Mathura? No, he is famous for his activities. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not famous for having been born in Mayapur. He is famous for his activities, for his Sankirtana preaching. This Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir is the preaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, I want a place that is so attractive because of the activities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that everyone will come here." Jai. While in Calcutta, before coming to Mayapur, Prabhupada had called several senior disciples into his room. "I have had many requests," he said to them, "to translate Chaitanya Bhagavat, but I am going to translate the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita. Is that all right?" "Oh, yes, Prabhupada," Bhavananda Goswami had replied. "That is wonderful." Decades ago, Prabhupada had written essays based on the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and over the years, he had translated some of the verses and written purports to them. Then in America in 1968, he had completed Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, a summary study based on certain important passages of Chaitanya Charitamrita. During his stay in Mayapur, however, he began anew a translation and commentary of Krishnadas Kaviraj's Chaitanya Charitamrita, beginning with the 7th chapter. As he progressed, he found a wonderful momentum and he said he would publish a volume starting with chapter 7 for Lord Chaitanya's appearance day in March. Deciding to complete the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita, he suspended his work on Srimad Bhagavatam. In one of the first verses of the 7th chapter, Krishnadas Kaviraj states, "Let me offer my obeisances to Lord Sri Krishna, who has manifested himself in 5 as a devotee, as expansion of devotee, incarnation of a devotee, pure devotee, and devotional energy." Prabhupada wrote that the only way for people to be elevated in love of Krishna in the age of Kali is by the mercy of the Panchatattva, or Lord Chaitanya, in his form of 5 personalities. One should offer obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting the Panchatattva mantra, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. This mantra should be recited before one chants the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There are 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Prabhupada wrote, but these are not considered in the chanting of the Panchatattva Mahamantra. One must first take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, learn the Panchatattva Mahamantra, and then chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Verse after verse of the 7th chapter confirmed the essential principles of Srila Prabhupada's mission and attested that he was teaching exactly after the method advised by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The characteristics of Krishna are understood to be a storehouse of transcendental love. Although that storehouse of love certainly came with Krishna when he was present, it was sealed. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came with his other associates, the Panchatattva, they broke the seal and plundered the storehouse to taste transcendental love of Krishna. The more they tasted it, the more their thirst for it grew. Sri Panchatattva themselves danced again and again, and thus made it easier to drink nectarian love of Godhead. They danced, cried, laughed, and chanted like madmen, and in this way they distributed the love of Godhead. In commenting on these verses, Prabhupada wrote, "The present Krishna conscious movement follows the same principle, and therefore, simply by chanting and dancing, we have received good responses all over the world. It is to be understood, however, that this chanting and dancing do not belong to this material world. They are actually transcendental activities. For the more one engages in chanting and dancing, the more he can taste the nectar of transcendental love of Godhead." By the phrase Krishna Consciousness Movement, Prabhupada spoke not only of his own disciples and his Krishna Consciousness Society, but also of the movement inaugurated by Lord Chaitanya. Just as the original personality of Godhead and the deity of Krishna in the temple were the same, so the movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Prabhupada's Krishna Consciousness Movement were identical. In distributing love of Godhead, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates did not consider who was a fit candidate and who was not, nor were such distribution should or should not take place. They made no conditions. Wherever they got the opportunity, the members of the Panchatattva distributed love of Godhead. For Srila Prabhupada, this verse directly confirmed the instruction he had received from his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, that people of all births could become Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, and Sannyasis. Here was direct evidence from the scripture. Yet Prabhupada, like his own spiritual master, had often received criticism from the caste-conscious Brahmanas of India. With the proof in hand, Prabhupada now challenges envious critics. There are some rascals who dare to speak against the mission of Lord Chaitanya by criticizing the Krishna consciousness movement for accepting Europeans and Americans as Brahmanas and offering them sannyas. But here is an authoritative statement that in distributing love of Godhead, one should not consider whether the recipients are Europeans, Americans, Hindus, Muslims, etc. The Krishna consciousness movement should be spread wherever possible, and one should accept those who thus become Vaishnavas as being greater than the Brahmanas, Hindus, and or Indians. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desired that his name be spread in each and every town and village on the surface of the globe. Therefore, when the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is spread all over the world, should those who embrace it not be accepted as Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, and Sannyasis? These foolish arguments are sometimes raised by envious rascals, but Krishna conscious devotees do not care about them. We strictly follow the principles set down by the Panchatattva. Another criticism Srila Prabhupada encountered was that his emphasis on proselytizing was actually alien to Indian spirituality. Even Prabhupada's godbrothers had occasionally made such remarks. More often, however, this sentiment came from the impersonalists, who argued that people should be left to conceive of religion in their own ways. Religion, being an internal spiritual affair, should not be propagated by zealous evangelism. Preaching and conversion, they said, were for the Christians, not for the followers of Indian religion. In the 7th chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita's Adi Leela, however, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, revealed his heart and emotion as the ideal preacher. Although the members of the Panchatattva plundered the storehouse of love of Godhead and ate and distributed the contents, there was no scarcity, for this wonderful storehouse is so complete that as the love is distributed, the supply increases hundreds of times. The flood of love of Godhead swelled in all directions, and thus young men, old men, women, and children were all immersed in that inundation. The Krishna consciousness movement will inundate the entire world and drown everyone, whether one be a gentleman, a rogue, or even lame, invalid, or blind. When the first 5 members of the Panchatattva saw the entire world drowned in love of Godhead and the seed of material enjoyment in the living entities completely destroyed, they all became exceedingly happy. The more the 5 members of the Panchatattva caused the rains of love of Godhead to fall, the more the inundation increased and spread all over the world. This was Srila Prabhupada's spirit in training young men and women in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And he was offering these words of Lord Chaitanya to strengthen all the Lord's devotees. The members of the Krishna Consciousness movement should be confident that by preaching purely, they would meet with success. Prabhupada was confident. Here were the words of Shastra, words spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada's personal experience confirmed the same. Thus, he could write, "Our Krishna Consciousness movement was started single-handedly, and no one provided for our livelihood. But at present, we are spending hundreds and thousands of dollars all over the world, and the movement is increasing more and more. Although jealous persons may be envious, if we stick to our principles and follow the footsteps of the Panchatattva, this movement will go on unchecked by imitation swamis, sannyasis, religionists, philosophers, or scientists, for it is transcendental to all material considerations. Therefore, those who propagate the Krishna consciousness movement should not be afraid of such rascals and fools." The verses of the 7th chapter describe a worldwide inundation of Krishna consciousness. Thus, the objections that the Europeans and Americans could not become Brahmanas or sannyasis would be swept away as Lord Chaitanya's mercy flooded the entire world. Nothing could check it. The words of Krishnadas Kaviraj intensified Prabhupada's desire to base his worldwide movement in the land where Lord Chaitanya appeared and began his Sankirtana movement. The Panchatattva had begun in Navadvip, and from here the waves of love of Godhead were swelling outward. In Sridham Mayapur, there is sometimes a great flood after the rainy season. This is an indication that from the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, the inundation of love of Godhead should spread all over the world, for this will help everyone, including old men, young men, women, and children. The Krishna consciousness movement of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so powerful that it can inundate the entire world and interest all classes of men in the subject of love of Godhead. In this seventh chapter of Adi Leela, Prabhupada found many other evidences authorizing ISKCON under the principle of Lord Chaitanya's teachings and activities. Krishnadas Kaviraj says that Lord Chaitanya's taking sannyas was a trick for delivering certain classes of society who would otherwise not have shown him respect. Prabhupada, in his commentary, explained that he also had devised schemes for offering the benefits of Krishna consciousness to as wide a spectrum of society as possible, and he cited his acceptance of women into the Krishna consciousness movement. Therefore, it is a principle, he wrote, that a preacher must strictly follow the rules and regulations laid down in the Shastra, yet, at the same time, devise a means by which the preaching work to reclaim the fallen may go on with full force. June 27, 1973. From Mayapur, Srila Prabhupada went to Calcutta. He wrote to Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. There is a suggestion by Shyam Sundar that I may go to London for meeting very important men there in the new house given to us by George. But I want to make some definite settlement of Bombay affairs before I return to Europe or America. If there is a suitable place for me to stay for a few days in Bombay, I can go there immediately, and from there I may go to London. While considering his itinerary, Prabhupada passed some days in the Calcutta temple on Albert Road. He was very free about allowing people to see him, and his room was often filled with local Bengalis as well as his own disciples seated on the white sheet before him. In the evenings, he would go, even when it meant riding for miles through congested parts of the city to spend an hour in someone's home preaching Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada's sister, Bhavatarini, known as Pishima to Prabhupada's disciples, would also visit the Calcutta temple to see her beloved brother and, as usual, to cook for him. One day, however, a few hours after eating her kachoris, Prabhupada felt sharp pains in his stomach. He closed his doors and went to bed. His followers became very concerned. When his servant Shrutakirti came into the room, he found him tossing. Srila Prabhupada, what's wrong? My stomach, Prabhupada replied. That coconut kachori, it was not cooked. The seizure continued all night, and several devotees continually massaged Prabhupada's body, especially his stomach. But with every breath, he would moan. Pishima was standing by, but Prabhupada's disciples feared her presence, thinking she might want to cook something else for him, even in his illness. Prabhupada asked that the picture of Lord Narasimha be taken from the altar and put beside his bed. Some devotees feared that Prabhupada might be about to pass away. The next morning, when the illness continued, the devotees called for the local Kaviraj, Ayurvedic doctor. The old Kaviraj came and diagnosed Prabhupada's illness as severe blood dysentery. He left medicine, but it was ineffectual. Later, when Prabhupada called Bhavananda to his room and requested fried puris with a little patala, an Indian vegetable similar to a small squash, and salt, Bhavananda protested such fried foods would be the worst thing for him. Prabhupada said that this was the blood dysentery cure his mother had given during his childhood. He then called for his sister and, speaking to her in Bengali, told her to prepare puris and patala. A few hours after taking the food, Prabhupada again called Bhavananda. He was feeling better. My mother was right, he remarked. Mothers are always right. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll pause here and we'll continue from here tomorrow. Yes, anybody would like to share any reflections, any realizations? Anything that you liked from today's reading? In the simplicity. Pawan Prabhuji would like to say something? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Every, yeah, it's nice. You recite the so nicely. Very
Hare
good,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for your association and for your nice chanting every morning. That is such an inspiration. Hare Krishna. So yeah, Prabhupada, I was thinking again like this mood of humility and mood of simplicity, like when he was in Mayapur, even though the storms were there, he was comparing all of these, like the natural breeze, like the Vaikuntha breeze. You remember even when he was at Puri Maharaj's place in Orissa, he was comparing the same thing, the breeze, ocean breeze to Vaikuntha breeze. So, and he's literally like, he's like Sudama. He's Krishna's friend here. Sometimes he becomes Krishna's father, right? In the mood of caring for Krishna. Sometimes he's like Krishna's friend, like Sudama. When Krishna and Sudama went out to get the firewood for their gurus, and based on their gurus' orders, they get lost in the forest, and the storm comes, dust storm, and then there is a rainstorm, and then it's night, and then they're not able to go back. And then that storm, Krishna remembers, when Sudama comes to visit Krishna later on, right, in Dwarka, and he remembers those pastimes. So like that, Prabhupada here, he's telling his dad, no, let the windows be open, let the storm come in. So like that, he's remembering his pastimes with the Lord as his friend, as Sudama did. So like that, yeah, anything and everything with Prabhupada's activities, like he says, the birthplace is not important, but the activities are important. Like same thing with Krishna and Sudama. The activities of Krishna, Sudama, and his pastimes are more important than the birthplace of Krishna and Mathura. Similarly, here Prabhupada is comparing Chaitanya Charitamrita. The birthplace of Lord Chaitanya is not that important, but his activities of preaching the glories of the Lord, preaching the holy names is more important. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, would be so pleased by the most humble devotees, right? Like Raghunath Das Goswami, he was Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, all these 6 Goswamis that we read these prayers about, sing the prayers, sing the glories. They were all from very opulent families. They were the topmost ministers during the Mughal Empire. So Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami was the son of the most wealthiest persons in Bengal that time. But they gave up all of their material wealth, material attachments, and they surrendered, and they practiced, and they immersed or dove into the love of Godhead. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, many times we see he would be so merciful on the most humble of his servants. There was a Shuklachari one of Brahmachari devotees. He would just, in his hut, he would chant the Lord's names. And once Mahaprabhu visited him, and he said, "What are you eating?" He just had some chip, pieces of rice with him, and Mahaprabhu stole all of that, and he just started eating, taking mutti full of rice from his pouch, and he was thinking, "Oh my God, Mahaprabhu is eating all my uncooked rice. At least I myself would even cook and eat these rice." But Mahaprabhu was fully, um, you know, that is the mood of the Lord, that he's sold to his devotees through the love, through the bhav that they have. Just like Sudama brought some rice, like that Mahaprabhu also stole and ate the rice of his disciples. How Lord Sri Ram ate the chute bear of Mother Shabri, right? So that is the mood of the Lord. He is completely sold to his pure devotees. So like that, it's so nice to read this pastimes. Okay, Hare Krishna. All right, anybody else would like to share anything from today's reading? Amresh Prabhu, Devika Mataji, anything from you?
Thank you, Prabhuji, for reading. It's really nice.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Devika Mataji, Ritesh Prabhu, anything from you?
Chief Prabhuji, I'm here.
Sorry, were you saying something, Mataji?
No, I was just saying thank you.
All right, okay. Thank you, Mataji. Ritesh Prabhu, Haribol. Speaking.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, yes. Thoughts, comments, anything, Ritesh Prabhu? it is not
Prabhuji,
coming through. Yes, go ahead, Prabhu. Sorry.
Dharma Pranam, Prabhuji. Thank you for sharing everything, but nothing.
All right, so we'll end here with Vaishnav Pranam prayers. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की जय, शिल प्रभुपाद लीलामृत की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल. Thank you all. We'll see you all later today at the center. Hare Krishna.
Hare